Saudi Aramco is a company you've probably never heard of, but it's actually one of the most powerful corporations in the world. This one company meets more than 10% of the world's demand for oil, and according to financial reports, Saudi Aramco is the most profitable company in the world. So what is Saudi Aramco and what does it have to do with the government of Saudi Arabia? Today, we'll look at the story of Saudi Aramco and how it got started from a single oil well in an unexplored desert to becoming one of the most powerful companies in the world. In the beginning. The story of Saudi Aramco dates back to the official creation of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the early 20th century by King Abdulaziz bin Abdul Rahman Al Saud. Following a series of conquests over the course of 3 decades, King Abdulaziz united 4 regions of Arabia into a single state. This newly formed state was built on a large expanse of desert with sparse vegetation and harsh desert climates. The people relied on petty trading and primitive agriculture, while most of the country's economy was based on the limited revenues from pilgrimages. However, the fledgling country needed money to grow its economy and cater to the need of the population. Following World War I, oil had become an important commodity with rising demands, and there were rumors of oil seepage in some parts of the Arabian Peninsula. So this led to a concession agreement signed between Saudi Arabia and the Standard Oil Company of California, SoCal, now known as Chevron, to look for oil in the eastern part of the country. Oasis in the desert. Shortly after the agreement, Standard Oil Company set up a subsidiary company, the Californian Arabian Standard Oil Company, CASOC, to begin the speculative attempt to find oil in Saudi Arabia. However, the company failed to strike oil in a commercial quantity in all the initial attempts. Later, the Texas company, Texaco, bought half of CASOC, forming a partnership that would become the Arabian American Oil Company, or simply Aramco, in 1944. After going through years of fruitless attempts to find oil in commercial quantity, the first success came with the 7th drill site in Dhahran named Dammam Well No. 7. The company finally struck oil in 1938, almost 5 years after the first drilling began in Saudi Arabia. This well was able to produce over 1,500 barrels of oil per day, and this would be the beginning of several discoveries that radically changed Saudi Arabia. Just a year after the first discovery of oil, Saudi Arabia exported its first tanker load of petroleum, which was about 100,000 barrels. And in just a few years after the first discovery, more profitable drilling sites were discovered, including the Safaniya oil field, which is the world's largest offshore field. By 1948, Aramco was made up of 4 American corporations, which are Standard Oil Company of California, Texas Company, Standard Oil Company of New Jersey, later known as Exxon, and Sakani Mobil Oil Company, later known as Mobil. OPEC, war, and ownership. Aramco continued to enjoy record-breaking oil production milestones, causing Saudi Arabia and other neighboring oil-producing states to see the potential of this mineral wealth. Thus, in 1960, 5 oil-producing states met in Baghdad to form an alliance that would protect the interest of the member states. The result was the Organization of Petroleum Export Countries, popularly known as OPEC. One of the first things OPEC did during its early years was to bargain with the dominant oil companies to split their profit on a 50-50 basis. After learning that Aramco paid more in taxes to the United States than in royalties to Saudi Arabia, the Saudi government requested a renegotiation to increase their income. Seeing that this alliance gave them more economical and political power, the oil-producing states started demanding more, including nationalizing their mineral wealth. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, a series of events would happen and give OPEC more power to control global oil prices. The American domestic oil output was gradually peaking, and they could not keep up with increasing demand from vehicles. This made America one of the largest importers of oil from the Middle East. Furthermore, the Arab-Israeli War, also known as the Yom Kippur War, started in 1973, in which Egypt tried to take back the occupied land of the Sinai Peninsula. But because the United States supported Israel by providing ammunition and supplies, the oil-producing Arab states, led by Saudi Arabia, decided to boycott the supply of oil to the West. This ultimately led to the 1973 oil crisis in the United States, as gasoline was rationed and restrictions were placed on driving at certain times to conserve fuel. After the war was over, the price of oil increased dramatically by up to 400%, allowing Saudi Arabia and most oil-producing states to gain unprecedented wealth and power. Following the war, the Saudi Arabian government began the move to take control of Aramco. They insisted on taking a 25% interest in Aramco at first, and gradually increased that interest over the next 8 years until they owned 100% of the company. The company was named Saudi Aramco, with Ali Al-Naimi being the first Saudi citizen to become the president of Saudi Aramco. Global expansion and establishment. Once Saudi Aramco became a state-owned company, the government began to expand into other industries of the oil sector. They went from being an exclusive oil-producing and exporting company to an integrated petroleum enterprise. Over the next couple of decades, Saudi Aramco expanded its petroleum enterprise rapidly through both acquisitions and creation of new subsidiaries. The company produces petroleum, petrochemical, and lubricant products through its various subsidiaries locally and around the world. Saudi Aramco currently has international refinery ventures in countries like China, the United States, Japan, and the Republic of Korea. One of its earliest ventures is Star Enterprises, formed in 1989 with Texaco in the United States, in what would later evolve to become Motiva Enterprises, and is currently the largest oil refinery in North America. Saudization and going public. The discovery of oil in Saudi Arabia brought a change in the financial and economic situation of the nation and the people. From the original concession agreement, the goal of the development of Aramco was directly tied to the improvement of the lives of Saudi nationals. The oil company was expected to employ Saudi nationals as far as practical and should only employ other people when there is no citizen fit for a position. However, before the discovery of oil, most of the citizens lived a nomadic lifestyle with little to no education. So the company started building schools to train people hired into entry-level positions. They attend school in the early hours of the day, followed by 4 hours of work in the afternoon. Following their graduation from high school, the company offered college scholarships, thus increasing the literacy rate in the country and the number of citizens qualified for higher positions in the company. Furthermore, the revenue from the oil produced was used to build amenities to improve the lives of the workers. This includes communication, health, housing, and transportation. The rapid development and transformation of the country also led to a more settled and diverse life for most of its citizens. After almost 8 decades of operation, Saudi Aramco had already established itself as one of the most dominant players in the oil industry. Then in 2019, they went public by selling 1.5% of the company's value to the public via an initial public offering on Saudi's Tadawul stock exchange. During the IPO, Saudi Aramco raised a record-breaking amount of $25.6 billion, making it the world's largest IPO ever. Saudi Aramco in numbers. Since Saudi Aramco is a state-owned entity, the government of Saudi Arabia derives most of its revenue from the company. The company pays at least 50% tax to the government, as well as other royalties and dividends. However, it remains the world's largest oil company and most profitable company worldwide. Saudi Aramco meets more than 10% of the world's demand for oil, and according to financial reports, the company's current earnings are $303 billion. Furthermore, Saudi Aramco is one of the largest companies in terms of market capitalization, with a current market cap of $1.8 trillion.